Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome into 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome into this edition of Strategies for a Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan, and I need a little help here, Ruben.
I'm right here. That's what I'm here for.
Ace of the Airways, Ruben Wright. Okay, my co-host generally is smiling like a Chessy cat. And so
Yeah,
I
right.
see somebody down there smiling like a Chessy cat. Doesn't look much like Carla. What's going on here?
It looks nothing like Carl.
He's probably thankful for that right now. Oh, it is a pleasure. Carla is on vacation. Oh, you let her off, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She begged, and finally I was like, all right.
Okay, but that's okay. I'm not going to be on you too much because you've lined up Jerry Fodell.
Of course, that was all me. That was my idea.
Founder of Resilient House is our co-host today, extraordinary. You have been sitting in the other chair, my friend.
Sure.
What's it feel like to sit in the co-host chair?
Exciting.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you're going to, and you've even picked the topic today.
Sure.
So you're really going to sit here and you're going to tell Ruben and I you're going to outwit the devil. We're going to talk about outwitting the devil this evening.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Can you believe that's what his first evening?
It sounds tricky.
Well, I mean, I would have expected maybe a little less, I don't know.
Maybe something a little easier for his
Yeah.
first-time co-host.
A little lighter.
You would think. No, maybe but this kind of guy Jerry is. So he wanted to talk about outwitting the devil. That's what we're going to talk about this evening. Folks, welcome into Strategies for a Living. Thank you for tuning in. We're presented by CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. Been helping individuals and families for 60 years now. We're also brought to you by Jerry Anderson State Farm Insurance. Brought to you by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Jacob's Well, Inspirational Books and Gifts, and of course, by Resilient House. Well, we'll see what Jerry's got up his sleeve. Well, he's got a couple of sleeves and pants leg too. He's going to have to pull out a lot. We're outwitting the devil this evening. Come back and find out more. That's all I'm going to say.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of will and taste.
Welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Marriage and family therapist David McMillan, the founder of Resilient House, Mr. Jerry Fodell. Welcome, Jerry.
Well, thank you, sir.
Good to have you sitting down across from me.
Excited to be here.
And you're going to be here a couple of times this week, filling in for Carla McCormick.
Yes.
And I will refrain because Carla's probably listening, checking me out on what I'm going to say. So I'm not going to say anything about your good looks being, or sparkly personality being better than Carla's or anything, because, I'll get in trouble for that later. But you'll forgive me for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you put a book in my hand, last Wednesday?
Yes.
It's called Outwitting the Devil. Napoleon Hill, who a lot of us have heard about, Think and Grow Rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a gentleman Dr. Napoleon Hill was. Quoting from the foreword of this book, it was written, by the way, by Mark Victor Henson, who has been a life strategist here a couple of times on Strategies for Living through the years. If you don't recognize the name, one of the co-founders of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. No small little deal in and of itself.
Not at all.
So here's what Mark Victor says. He says, Dr. Napoleon Hill is arguably the most famous self-help action writer, thinker, evocateur, and best-selling author of all time. We ask that you refer quickly to the actual interview with the devil. You will thus get the impact in your life of who the devil really is and what he does 98% does to 98% of living beings, according to the devil himself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What drew you to that? What drew you to this book?
It's a crazy story. I was in Detroit. I was up there for the Detroit Recovery Project. They were having a gala.
We should mention that you're a Detroit guy.
Detroit boy, yes, sir. And so I'm walking down the sidewalk, and I run into an attorney friend of mine I haven't seen in years.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You got to read this book." And I'm like, "Oh, hello, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Okay, I haven't seen you in 20 years." And he
that's how excited he was about this. Yeah.
And he put it in my hands, and I put it in my bag, and I really didn't look at it for a couple weeks, and I picked it up on a Saturday morning, and I didn't put it down. It was just.
You handed me your copy, which you've got underlined and underscored, and I loved it. I couldn't put it down either.
Right.
Yeah. So Mark Victor is talking about, and by the way, we should note that the book that we are talking about is out from Sterling. It has been edited and annotated by Sharon Lecter, who it himself is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
Yeah. So no small thing. This was never before published. It's been actually hidden since 1938. And so now we're getting it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So what jumped out at you first? Was it the what Mark Victor's talking about, the interview with the devil, and the or was it the title itself? What was it that jumped out at you?
It was the title, initially, and then when I first picked it up, and it was the forward in the first couple chapters. Just what holds people back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fear.
Yeah.
Fear.
Yeah.
And when you're, on the verge of breakthrough, do you got what it takes to take one more step? That and it refers to the book, 3 feet from gold. You're 3 feet from gold, and you let it go, and the.
You told that story in a meeting this morning. Well, actually, you didn't tell the story. Your father-in-law told the story.
Craig did.
Craig did. Yeah.
And it's a pretty, that's a pretty amazing analogy that, a guy that, had a pretty productive gold claim that they thought ran dry.
Yeah.
And they didn't go 3 more feet, and it turned into be one of the legendary, gold finds of all time.
He sold it. He sold it
to a junk man.
Yeah. Who ended up to be fabulously wealthy by just simply moving 3 feet over.
3 feet over.
And there he hit.
Mm-hmm.
I figure you can probably relate to that from the oil and gas biz, huh?
Sure, absolutely. And so that's what kind of just grabbed me, and it just jumped off the page of that simply just having the tenacity to keep on going stops people, and the fear of failure, those type of things that that just hold people back. And
I often ask clients in the room. I won't put you on the spot because you're the co-host, so I'll put the producer on the spot because he gets paid for this. You ready?
Why not?
Okay. What's the opposite of love?
Hate.
Everybody says it.
Right.
Everybody says that.
Mm-hmm.
You got one? You're right. Gosh. No. And let me tell you why. Let me explain to you why. And Jerry's dancing all around this. The actual opposite of love. If you think about it, what is love? What are we really dealing with? It's energy. It's a powerful energy. Go all the way to what's the state of no energy? The absolute state of no energy. It's not hate, because I can tell you, and Jerry knows this because he's felt it like I have. If somebody hates you, a lot of times they'll expend more energy on you than
right. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And the real deal there is, to hate, there's got to be love of some kind. They're just confused.
Right.
But the opposite of hate has got to be that state of no energy, which is actually indifference. The true opposite of love is indifference. Because if I'm indifferent to you, I'm giving you zero energy. But, and this is a big one, way down yonder, as close to indifference as you can get, is fear.
Right.
Because what fear does, it's not the absolute opposite of love, but it's almost the opposite of love because it blocks energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
It's paralyzing.
Yeah. It just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. So, that's the thing about this, and it just, that if that's the only thing that the devil has to hold you back is fear from success. I mean, bring it.
This is quoting from the book. My experience has taught me that a man is never quite so near success as when that which he calls failure has overtaken him. For it's on occasion of this sort that he's forced to think. If he thinks accurately and with persistence, he discovers that so-called failure usually is nothing more than a signal to rearm himself with a new plan or purpose. Most real failures are due to limitations which men set up in their own minds. If they had the courage to go one step further, they would discover the error. Most real failures are due to limitations which men set up in their own minds. And let me just get out of the way. Let me be politically correct here for both of us. Okay, Napoleon Hill is writing this back in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all about him.
Right.
When he's saying men, it's men and women.
Right.
Right. So so now we're out of the doghouse, Jerry.
Right. Exactly. Right. It's you're PC now.
Not that you and I need any help getting in the doghouse, baby.
I live there.
Yeah. Woof, woof. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about I know your story. So I know you can totally relate to what he's saying here.
Right. It just shows if you just, you can take one more step, that's what it could be, the momentum to put you in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. The urge to continue was stronger than the desire to quit. Remember that time when you wanted to quit, but something drove you to keep going. It may have been your other self. My other self? There's more than one of me in here?
Yes. Right.
There's many parts in there.
There really is many parts, so it's just, me, I physically have to, wake up every single day and tell myself, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do this, and that's, that's part of this here that, I live fearless, and that's, I've used that my whole entire life. And when I started reading this, it made sense, part of the, the piece about my life, just live fearless.
Have you heard the acronym for fear? False expectations appearing real.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times do we need to remind ourselves about that?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Every day.
yeah. Someone in the program in recovery told me, well, there's a couple of other meanings that possibly could be. FEAR,
Right.
F everything and run.
Right. Right.
Or face everything and respond.
And respond.
Yeah. And boy, don't I that's so right on with what Napoleon Hill is talking about here.
Absolutely. Emergency. How do we respond in emergencies? It speaks a lot about that. That just making the right direction, that you continue. That if you got to rearm, like it talks about rearming. You got to retool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every year, an assembly plant has to retool.
Yeah.
To be the latest and greatest fresh model out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the book. I just literally could not put it down.
Jerry Fodell is outwitting the devil today. We're talking about Napoleon Hill's never-before-published work that is just come out. Sharon Lecter has edited it and annotated it. We're talking about it today on Strategies. We got much more to come. Stay right where you are. knew there were so many songs about the devil? Who knew? I guess Reuben.
Ever since the days of Robert Johnson.
Welcome back into Strategies for Living, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. And no, folks, Reuben has not gone nuts. Jerry Fodell is our.
I thought you were going to say it was my fault.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did bring up you decided you were going to outwit the devil tonight.
Yes,
you
sir.
know? So you gave Reuben a task extraordinaire on your first day as co-host. You know, so what a deal. Welcome back into Strategies for Living, folks. We're with Jerry Fodell this evening, and we're talking about the book that has been uncovered. It was never before published. It's been hidden since 1938. Napoleon Hill, you know him, the best-selling author, best-selling success book of all time, Think and Grow Rich. This book was found. It was put into Jerry's hands on a recent trip to Detroit, and now we're talking about it here on Strategies. So you were mentioning before break the emergency. When you're faced, this is quoting, when you're faced with your own emergency, fear can either motivate you or paralyze you. And by recognizing that you have a choice and responding positively to your fears, you can permanently change your life for the better.
Right.
Wow. That's
Something.
strong.
It is. You know, me personally, I've always responded best in emergency. I don't know why I'm tooled like that, but emergency,
Well, it's perfectly set for the oil business, and maybe what God knew more than anything is preparing you for the business you're in now.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, I mean, think about it.
I know.
Could there really have been any better education for you to start a center of recovery than spending 150 years in the oil business?
Right. I know. It's crazy.
You only spent a
fraction.
few years, but it probably feels like 150 at times.
It teaches you everything. It teaches you survival. It teaches you, the skills are. It's something that everybody should do. It's like the military.
Yeah.
If you could do a hitch in a year of West Texas, you can do anything.
Yeah.
That's a preview to hell there that you don't want to go. So it's
The best of times and the worst of times.
it
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. You got to learn to ride a roller coaster in that business, don't you?
You do. The ups and downs are so great, and it's just you got to be able to make a decision on the fly at all times.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like a resilient house. You got to be prepared for whatever's going to come through the door. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, you don't on a day-to-day basis, and not even you don't know what's going to come through the door. You don't know people that we're dealing with. How are they going to respond? And we're not talking guests and patients here. We're talking staff. I'm picking.
I know.
I'm totally picking.
We love them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because, in the recovery business, a lot of the therapists, many therapists are ourselves in recovery.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that, and I'm not. I've not. Thank God. Thank the good
Yes,
Lord.
thank God.
That's not been an issue for me, at least yet.
Right.
I hope it's not.
We're praying.
You're pray for me every day.
Yes, sir.
But some people would even argue, well, you can't be a great therapist in recovery unless you're in recovery. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. It's
Cancer doctors don't have to have had cancer to be a great cancer doc. A heart doctor doesn't have to be, have had a heart attack to be a great heart surgeon or cardiologist. So I don't know.
I don't think so.
But I hear what is being said, and
I mean, they bring a lot to the
acknowledge it.
table.
Yeah. But anyway, we don't want to get off on a rabbit trail there.
Right.
Yeah. When you began to read this Napoleon Hill's his actual what was actually revealed to him, and he actually writes a an interview with the devil. What'd you think? What'd you think about that?
I thought it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That to sit down and the majority of the book is about the interview.
Yeah, yeah.
The things that jumped off the page on me were just the takeaway is 90% of the devil's tricks are just 98% is just fear. I know we keep going back to that, but isn't that just crazy?
It is crazy. Can we talk about that for a second? And again, this is kind of jumping off of Napoleon Hill's book, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. So, this is not Jerry, guys. This is me. I have zero problem saying that the devil is real.
Oh, absolutely. It's real.
Zero problem.
Oh,
okay. At the same time, I wonder sometimes if we don't make him, a hell of a lot more important than he is.
we do.
And what I hear at times is, okay, if I understand my theology correctly, and I may get corrected here, but if I understand my theology correctly, Satan is a creature.
Right.
He's a fallen angel.
Mm-hmm.
He thought of himself to be like God, and got put in his place.
Sure.
And he got pissed. Yeah. And as a result, Lucifer, the angel of light, he became Satan. All right. But he's still a creature.
Mm-hmm.
He's not God.
He's not God.
So
no.
why do we give him, Jerry? Why do we give him God-like status? Do you know what I mean? And again, I'm the old saying, give the devil his due. I'm giving the devil his due, but he's a creature. He's not God. That's one point. I don't have any problem with the idea that the devil has minions.
Absolutely.
That there are a lot of people, a lot of other creatures helping.
Mm-hmm.
They're still not God.
No, it's not God. So
Yeah.
if he spends the majority of our time between our ears,
Yeah.
just blowing our ear, telling us stories that we're less than, we're not good enough, and just starts that simple process, just starts whittling away, which you see in the interview,
Yeah.
just
It's shame, isn't it?
it's shame, guilt.
Yeah. It's shame and guilt.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I distinguish, and Carla and I, through the months we've been on the air, we've talked a lot about shame and guilt because we have to.
Right.
I'll get your take on this. We've come up with, there's nothing good about shame.
Nothing.
You cannot make shame anything other than what it is.
No.
I mean, because basically guilt, and I think there's two kinds of guilt. I think there's a healthy guilt and there's unhealthy guilt. I'll talk about that in a second. But healthy guilt, if I do something to you, if I hurt your feelings in some way, if I do something that I know hurts you emotionally or physically or in any way, then I need to feel guilt, because then that guilt tells me I need to go to my friend Jerry and I need to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see if I can right the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's healthy guilt to me. Okay, now let's oppose that to shame. Shame is not about I've done something wrong. It says I am something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's simply like the shame I felt being an active addiction.
Yeah.
That the shame was so great that I could easily go to anybody and tell them and lift this weight and start on the process. But the shame and the guilt, the stigmatism of that whole thing was, that it was.
It kept you bound to it.
It kept me bound.
Yeah.
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear of letting the secret out of the bag. That I got a problem. I'm that's So like the book, are we going to be guided by faith, or are we going to be guided by fear?
And that's a decision, isn't it?
It's a total decision.
Yeah.
Just so the shame and the guilt, is just paralyzing. So the release that we get from of not being fear and being able to let it go is freedom is. Freedom is something.
Sometimes you have to do the actions. I'm gonna brag just a moment, folks. I'm gonna brag a little bit on something that's going on, and I have no idea what Denny Duran is doing out there at 6 o'clock in the morning. What in the world does a good-looking rich guy like Denny Duran need to get up at 4:30 or so and get dressed and come down and be in church every morning at 6 a.m.? I'm being facetious.
No, right.
I'm being totally facetious.
It's amazing. I mean, what's happening there is really truly life changing, and it's we're in the day we're the 9th day of a 21-day fast. It's a prayer and fast, and I've done this several times in my my relationship with
your journey,
my journey with with Shreveport Community Church and Denny, and when he says we're gonna have a fast, I'm there. I'm front and center because something's gonna happen. I mean, Saturday was so powerful with what happened that if you don't know God, and you were there, I mean, it was all over. The Holy Spirit and God was there, and it was just amazing. Just what happened there. So it was.
What's it like to feel that, Jerry? What's it like to feel that move through you?
I mean.
Can you even describe it?
No, you can't describe it. It's like the best feeling ever. It's like, it's just everything that you can imagine. I mean, I was, and not only, just me, but then watching people just, it's amazing, so.
We got some folks from Resilient House that are going and doing this
every morning, and it was just, nowhere do we say it was mandatory.
No, it's totally volunteer.
Yeah, if you want to go, and you know what, every morning they're waiting in line at 5:30 to jump in the Suburban to go.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
isn't that crazy?
We're up to 2 Suburbans now that there's 10, 12 people going that they're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the things that are happening, the how that influences. And that's what I want to come back to. That's the bragging. How that influences the rest of the day, and there's the action piece.
Oh yeah, totally.
And again, I'm not sitting here on a soapbox saying you got to go out to Denny's church, or I'm not saying you've got to do this. But you've got to do something.
Starting the day right.
Yeah.
The first thing that you do.
Yeah.
It's like when just if I always go back to some treatment stories. When they came and they told me, you got to make your bed. I said, make my bed. You make my bed. I ain't making my bed. I ain't made my bed in 30 years.
When's the last time that somebody told you to make your bed when you were at home with Mama?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And probably not even then.
So just think about that. That's the first thing that you do, right? And the first thing or the last thing you do, come back to that's a right. So, and that if you can continue to keep on going. Just by going to church, just filling yourself with positivity. You don't have to go to church, but just starting your day in positivity.
Ask yourself how you can do that. And there are many opportunities to that. Church is one of them.
Sure.
Reading like we're doing this evening, looking at this Outwitting the Devil book.
Outwitting the Devil.
Yeah.
Picking up a powerful book, just filling your mind with positivity, flooding yourself with positivity. So when the bell rings at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, whenever your day starts, that you're ready to fight.
Resilient House founder Jerry Fodell, marriage and family therapist David McMillan. We're doing our best to outwit the devil this evening.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back. Welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Marriage and family therapist David McMillan and founder of Resilient House, Jerry Fodell, filling in for Carla this evening here on Strategies for Living. How are you? How are your math skills?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay, so can I throw a formula out at you and
Sure.
see if you can solve this?
Sure.
Okay, so here we're going to test you out. P plus T times A plus F. That hard enough for you?
It's hard enough.
And let's even make it a little harder. Okay, so we'll put some parentheses around the P plus T, and we'll put bigger parentheses around the times A, and we'll put plus F outside.
Sure.
So we can throw algebra, make it algebraic here.
It equals your personal success equation. How about that?
I like it. Okay, so but combining your passion, that's the P,
Right.
with your talent, and then seeking the right association and taking the right action are very important components for success. But it's when you combine all of those components with that other F plus F, a strong faith in yourself and your mission, that you truly have your personal success equation. I like it.
Like it.
I like it.
It's, I mean, it pretty much says it right there. I mean, that's, that's the equation that's, you take everything out of it. I mean, your passion, your talent, your association. I mean, this is almost like, this is like Recovery 101.
It really is.
It really is, isn't it?
It truly
That's
is.
how, what scared me, when I started reading this book, how it's applied. I mean, just, it's on so many life skills that you can apply this book, so.
Amazing. I did not realize right away because, again, I found a magazine called Success back in, and Success Magazine was founded in 1897.
1897.
1897. It was actually founded by Orson Martin.
Wow.
And part of what was broadly known as the New Thought philosophy. And Napoleon Hill came to be associated with that magazine and published it for many, 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 many years. I found it in the 70s. I think Napoleon Hill passed away around 1970.
Okay.
W. Clement Stone, which some people might remember, was publishing Success Magazine. But
Still being published?
Still being published to this day.
To this day.
Out of Dallas, Texas.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
It is.
Yeah. I still, when I occasionally, I think it's published 6 times a year. And as a matter of fact, I'm looking at the June, July issue right now, and it's the 50 greatest. I'm not. It's the thing is too small. I can't see the 50 greatest what, but I think it may be the 50 greatest. And I'm sure Napoleon Hill is in here. The 50 greatest leaders of all time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, the legacy continues.
Passion, talent, association, action, plus faith. That's your personal success. Faith.
Yeah.
It all comes down to faith. And that's why the two most important words in this book are faith and fear.
Faith and fear. And so, which one do you choose?
I choose faith all the time. I run through the fog, at 100 miles an hour, because I got faith, that it's clear path.
I love this. Now, he keeps talking about the other self. I want you to explain the other self in just a second. But he says the other self may meet with temporary defeat, but not with permanent failure. How many times do we allow a temporary defeat to affect us as if it were a permanent failure instead of learning from it and moving on? As Hill describes, he himself faced many setbacks along his journey, but each time he was able to find the seed of greater benefit and move on to greater successes.
Right. Goes right back to fear. Fear paralyzes us, when that happens. And if we truly believe that we can pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off, that we can keep on trucking, we can learn from the situation and keep on moving.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know who all's listening to us right now, nor what they're going through.
Right.
Right. So we may have some folks that are, maybe they've lost their home.
Sure.
Maybe they've been foreclosed on. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've lost a job. Maybe they've lost a love, a marriage. Maybe it's a divorce that one didn't want.
Right.
Maybe it's in the active throes of addiction, whether that be drugs and alcohol or whether it be gambling or codependence. But it's any of that. It doesn't have to be quote unquote failure.
No, it's not. 42 months ago, my life was completely different. From what it is now. I lost everything in the downturn. Everything.
You and I reacted. You posted something on Facebook this weekend, and I don't know what got you to do this, but maybe you'll tell us. But you posted a picture of you in the throes, and
Sure.
you posted a picture of you today, and how'd you get younger?
I don't know. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, all have they, and I messaged you or responded to you. Wow,
Right.
Just wow. They say a picture says 1,000 words, but that picture says way more than 1,000 words. What do you think when you see that today? What do you think when you see that before and I'm not going to say after? It's a before and now picture.
Before and now,
Yeah.
sure. It was, I
Of
found
course,
that
you ain't finished yet.
not at all. No,
Yeah.
not even close. I saw that picture and I was like, wow, that's not even me.
Yeah.
That's not even me. And I just, I don't care anymore. If that can, give somebody the opportunity to take a look at themselves, to see where I was at and where I'm at now,
Yeah.
and going from, where we were at to where we are now,
Yeah.
Stuff is stuff, it's,
Stuff comes, stuff goes.
stuff comes, stuff
Yeah.
goes,
But stuff can be replaced.
Stuff can be replaced.
Yeah.
But, if I could still be stuck in that place if I wouldn't have made a choice. If I would, if I really wouldn't have, if I wouldn't have, said this is enough and I'm done with fear.
You had to make a decision to make your bed, or
Right.
you'd still be stuck.
I'd be stuck there.
Angela would still be hanging over you. I think Angela may have been a nun in a past life or
I'm
something.
telling
I
you,
don't.
she carries around a yardstick.
A
or
yardstick
something.
or a ruler.
Gosh, it's like, geez, remember, you work for me now. God, why you got to be so hard on me? But no, I love her.
Yeah,
You know.
but you did
Yes,
have to make the choice. You had to make the decision to make your bed.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That's how I had to retool, rearm.
yeah.
I had to live between the lines, and I had to, I had to.
Does it become easier? Again, I know I've known you since February.
Right.
I've watched you operate since February. Does it become easier? Because the trick here's basically in a nutshell what outwitting the devil is. It's remembering what we just said. It's remembering, especially through whatever those times of adversity are.
Right.
Whatever and it may be multiple. I mean, 1 year you may be facing losing a job. Another year you may be facing a divorce. Another year you may be facing, God help us, the sickness of a child or a grandchild or
Right.
something, right? So no, the adversity may change, but it's remembering. It's being able to remember that formula, and what we're just saying about it's all temporary.
It's all temporary, and then you know what? Every season has an expiration date. This isn't forever.
Is it easier now for you to remember that because you've been through hell?
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking about in the last few months.
Yeah, sure. And we're, so me and the devil, we got a personal relationship, we're, as much as I have a personal relationship with Jesus, the devil is always, he's right there, ready to pounce. So
Yeah.
you just gotta, don't give him any power.
That's it.
Don't give me power.
That's the secret, isn't it?
Yes.
Make the choice. Don't elevate him.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
make him more than he is.
He's less than.
Yeah.
It's beneath.
Yeah.
Scram. Beat it.
Beat it, devil.
Exactly.
We're talking Outwitting the Devil. Napoleon Hill's. It's never been published before, but it's been found. It's been hidden since 1938. We're talking about it today. Jerry Fodell and I are here on Strategies. We'll be back. Jerry went down to Georgia. You're pretty good on the fiddle, man.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Resilient House founder Jerry Fodell is my co-host today. He's subbing for Carly. Going to be back here subbing on Thursday too.
Thursday, sure.
I love it.
I love it too. I'm excited.
What are you going? You know, you took on the devil today. What are you going to do? What are you going to do Thursday?
We got to find something.
We are talking about, no kidding aside, folks, we're talking about this great little book. It's called Outwitting the Devil. You know who Napoleon Hill is, author of Think and Grow Rich, best-selling success book of all time. This book, subtitled The Secret to Freedom and Success, called Outwitting the Devil, never published before until now.
Right.
And uncovered, it's been hidden away since 1938. Mm-hmm. Powerful stuff.
Good read. I suggest, if you don't know it, get it.
Okay, but we got to warn our listeners, Jerry. Okay. So be ready to be challenged.
Absolutely.
Okay, because let me just throw out, there's challenges throughout the book, but here's one of the ones that I found. This is hard, Jerry. This is hard. True confessions now.
Sure.
Bless me, Father, I've sinned.
Sure.
You're in black.
Yeah.
And you know what Catholics do when you
Exactly.
most of the difficulties in which people, me, I find myself, people find themselves, are of their own making. What?
Yeah.
And he says, many people today have a victim mentality, which they use as an excuse not to take responsibility for their own lives.
Right.
Whoa, Jerry.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to wake up and say, you know, am I going to be a victim or am I going to be a victor?
And that is so hard in our, I mean, it's a challenge in our environment because, I mean, from politics
Right.
to, well, politics to religion, it's all over the place. We live in a victim culture, but we have a choice to make.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You did so good.
Thank you.
You're gonna come back Thursday and do this again, aren't you?
I'm excited.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies. We've been brought to you by CADA, Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana, by Jerry Anderson State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Jacob's Well, Inspirational Books and Gifts, and by Resilient House. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Jerry Fodell, for Reuben Wright, I'm David McMillan. See you next time here on Strategies for Living